The city had a different pulse at night, one that seemed to hum just beneath the surface. Palpable if you knew where to look. Streetlights cast long, fractured shadows on wet asphalt. The occasional siren pierced the darkness, a reminder that the world of law and crime coexisted in an uneasy truce. For Luigi, this world was no longer distant. He had stepped into its heart, and every breath he took carried risk. I watched him from a safe distance, my heart a mixture of admiration, fear, and longing. He moved with a purpose, a quiet intensity that made the casual passerby oblivious to the danger he carried like an invisible cloak. I had agreed to remain in the shadows, a silent observer, the only thread linking him to a semblance of safety. But even at that distance, the magnetic pull of his presence was undeniable. Heather tried to maintain contact, but I found myself brushing off her calls and texts more often than not. Every attempt at conversation was fraught with the tension of secrecy. I could not tell her the half of what was happening, not without endangering her. She noticed my distance, my distracted gaze, and though she did not press directly, I could feel the widening chasm between us. One evening, she cornered me in the dorm hallway, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Marco, please, I can't keep doing this. I feel like I'm losing you to something I don't even understand. If you're in danger, tell me. I can handle it, I can help." I shook my head, forcing a weak smile. "Hither, it's not that simple. You deserve to be safe. I can't bring you into this." Her shoulders slumped, defeat and frustration mingling in her posture. "Safe? Marco, staying out of the loop doesn't make me safe. It makes me helpless. I can't just watch you disappear into this secret world." I wanted to reach out, to hold her, to promise her the truth, but I could not. All I could do was step past her, leaving the unspoken tension lingering like smoke. Luigi's days became a series of carefully choreographed moves. He infiltrated the gang under the guise of a trusted outsider, his calm demeanor and charm allowing him to slip past suspicion. He learned their routines, their weaknesses, their secrets. Each observation recorded mentally for the authorities. The balance was delicate. He had to maintain the gang's trust while avoiding actions that would endanger him. Or me. He sent coded updates through the secure channels arranged by the police, each message a lifeline, each detail crucial. I read them with a mixture of awe and terror. The network was far larger and more complex than I had imagined. Meetings in hidden warehouses, exchanges under the cover of night. Codes whispered in languages I could barely comprehend. All of it painted a portrait of a world I had never seen, a world Luigi now navigated with unparalleled skill. One night, I received a message from him warehouse on 9th Street. Midnight. Alone. The instructions were clear. The warehouse was a hub for low-level operations, a place where minor transactions occurred. Luigi's note implied he had discovered something important, something he could not disclose, over secure channels. I arrived early, my heart pounding, aware that each step into this world increased my risk. The warehouse was dimly lit, the smell of dust and oil heavy in the air. I found a vantage point near a shadowed corner, observing silently. Through the grated windows, I could see figures moving, exchanging goods and cash. The air was thick with tension, each person aware of the other's hidden agendas. Then I saw him. Luigi, stepping through the shadows. He moved with quiet precision, surveying the scene, noting every detail, every nuance. His presence commanded attention without demanding it, a paradoxical blend of authority and subtlety. I watched, breathless, as he navigated the space, deflecting suspicion and keeping his true intentions hidden. After what felt like an eternity, he approached a small cluster of figures in a dim corner. The conversation was low, voices barely above a whisper. Yet I could sense the stakes in every gesture, every glance. Luigi's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the tension around him, his every movement deliberate, calculated. I marveled at his skill, but feared not at me. He was so close to danger, so intimately entwined with a world that could consume him in an instant. And yet, he moved with purpose, guided by a moral compass that seemed unshakable despite the chaos surrounding him. Later, Luigi slipped out of the warehouse. Glancing briefly in my direction, I caught the flicker of recognition in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of my presence. There was no time for conversation, no space for words. The city's darkness enveloped us, the distance between us a cruel reminder of the boundaries imposed by circumstance. I followed at a safe distance, heart hammering with a mixture of worry and something deeper, more intangible. Each step felt like a negotiation with fate, a delicate balance between proximity and safety. Luigi led me through the streets with a quiet confidence, weaving through alleys and side streets with an ease born of experience and instinct. When he finally stopped, it was at the edge of the river. The water shimmered faintly in the moonlight, a silver thread cutting through the darkness. He turned to me, expression unreadable but eyes filled with unspoken meaning. "Marco," he said softly, "you shouldn't have followed me. It's too dangerous. If anyone had seen you, it could have compromised everything." "I couldn't stay away," I replied, voice firm despite the fear curling in my chest. "I need to know you're safe, Luigi. I need to understand what's happening." He sighed, a sound heavy with responsibility and restraint. "I appreciate that, but this is not a game. The network, it's dangerous. Trust is fragile, and betrayal is everywhere. You cannot afford a misstep." "I understand," I whispered, though the tremor in my voice betrayed the storm within. We stood in silence for a long moment, the city's quiet hum surrounding us. And in that stillness, I felt the weight of our shared journey. The danger, the secrecy, the moral complexity. I understood, more clearly than ever, that Luigi's path was treacherous, yet his resolve unyielding. And I realized that I was irrevocably tied to him, bound by a mixture of admiration, fear, and unspoken desire. As we parted that night, shadows stretching between us, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. Luigi had entered a world of danger, and I had become a silent witness to his courage. Every step he took, every risk he assumed, shaped not only his destiny but mine. And in the quiet moments, when the city slept and the darkness seemed infinite, I understood the undeniable truth: my heart was no longer my own. Luigi had claimed it, irrevocably, in the shadows, in the danger, in the silent spaces between words. The following days blurred together, each indistinguishable from the last, marked only by subtle shifts in routine and the ever-present hum of danger. Luigi moved with a precision that made his actions almost imperceptible, slipping through the gang's network like a shadow. I tracked him from a distance, my heart pounding with every signal, every coded message that arrived through the secure channel. The tension was suffocating. One misstep could unravel everything. I returned to campus life, but it felt hollow, like a performance. Classes, meals, casual conversations. All of it had become background noise to the constant mental replay of Luigi's movements. I felt as though I were holding my breath in a storm, waiting for the inevitable gust that could knock us both off course. Heather noticed my distance immediately. Her voice, once soft and teasing, now carried a sharp edge of concern. "Marco, you're disappearing again. What is it this time?" I avoided her gaze, the guilt gnawing at me. "Heather, I can't explain. I promise it's nothing you need to worry about, but..." Her eyes narrowed. "Nothing I need to worry about." "Marco, I've always trusted you, but now, I don't even know who you are anymore. You're here, but you're not present. I feel like I'm losing you." I wanted to tell her the truth, to lay bare the danger, the secret, the bond forming between Luigi and me, but it was impossible. Words would only put her in harm's way, and I could not bear the thought of her caught in the crossfire. I swallowed the truth, the weight of it pressing down on my chest, leaving me silent. Inside the network, Luigi faced his first real test. A minor skirmish in a hidden warehouse escalated into a tense confrontation. He was expected to enforce the gang's rules, to display loyalty, yet he had to carefully balance his cover with his moral compass. One wrong gesture, one miscalculation, and his position could collapse, or worse. I watched remotely through a safe vantage point, heart racing. The tension was palpable even from a distance. Luigi moved calmly, smoothly diffusing the confrontation with a combination of authority and subtle persuasion. He prevented violence without drawing suspicion, a delicate dance that demanded every ounce of skill he possessed. The gang members respected him, unaware that every move he made was calculated, every word a carefully chosen measure of deception. He had become a master of appearances, projecting loyalty while safeguarding the truth beneath layers of secrecy. That night, I returned to my small apartment, mentally exhausted yet unable to rest. The adrenaline, the fear, and the longing coalesced into a restless energy that refused to dissipate. I stared at the ceiling, recalling the way Luigi had moved, the calm intensity in his eyes, the unspoken understanding that he was in constant danger yet unwavering in his resolve. I thought about Heather, her frustration and helplessness weighing heavily on me. I loved her, but the truth was undeniable. My heart and attention had shifted irrevocably toward Luigi. The bond we shared, forged in secrecy and danger, had become an inescapable gravity, pulling me away from everyone else. A week later, Luigi sent another message. East Dock, midnight, alone, urgent. I arrived early, weaving through the darkened streets with caution. The docks were quiet, eerily still except for the soft lapping of water against the wooden pilings. Crates and shipping containers cast long, angular shadows, creating pockets of darkness where danger could hide. Luigi was already there, standing beneath a dim lamp, his expression unreadable. "Marco," he said softly, "this is serious. They've suspected some irregularities in our transactions. I need to gather evidence tonight. It will be dangerous, and I cannot afford distractions." "I understand," I replied, though my chest tightened with worry. "Just be careful." "Bah," he nodded, eyes scanning the area. "I will. But you should stay hidden. One wrong step, and it could blow everything." I followed his instructions, retreating into a shadowed corner. From that vantage, I watched as Luigi moved through the dock, speaking quietly with low-level members, extracting information, subtly probing for weaknesses. His skill was astonishing. Each gesture, each word was precise, deliberate, and calculated. Suddenly, a gang member's suspicion flared. A sharp tone, a brief glance. Enough to trigger Luigi's instincts. He froze, assessing the situation, and then smoothly redirected the conversation, deflecting attention with an effortless charm that masked his true intentions. My heart pounded as I watched, knowing that any miscalculation could result in violence, or worse. The tension was suffocating, a physical weight pressing down on me. I clenched my fists, silently willing him to succeed, to navigate this delicate moment without faltering. Every second stretched into an eternity as Luigi moved with quiet mastery, his calm exterior belying the danger beneath. Finally, the moment passed, the suspicion faded, and Luigi returned to me with a subtle nod, acknowledgement of my presence without exposing me. Relief washed over me, mingling with admiration and fear. He had succeeded, but the danger was far from over. The next few nights were a blur of coded messages, shadowed observations, and silent strategizing. Luigi's position within the gang deepened, each action building trust while maintaining his cover. I observed from the sidelines, my life increasingly consumed by his movements, the moral tension, and the unspoken attraction between us. Heather's calls became more insistent. "Marco, I need to know what's happening. I feel like I'm losing you to something I can't see." I answered with vague reassurances, careful not to reveal the truth. "Heather, please, trust me. I'm trying to handle this. You're safe, and that's what matters." Her frustration was palpable. "Safe? Marco, staying out of the loop doesn't make me safe. It makes me helpless. I can't just watch you disappear into this secret world." I wanted to hold her, to promise her the truth, but I could not. Instead, I simply nodded, swallowing the weight of secrecy, the danger, and the unspoken bond forming between Luigi and me. The city seemed alive with threats. Every alley, every shadow, Every whisper of movement carried potential danger. Luigi navigated it all with a grace that seemed almost supernatural, a testament to his skill, intelligence, and moral fortitude. I followed indirectly, a silent witness, my admiration and fear entwined with the growing, undeniable attraction I felt for him. Each night, as he returned from his covert operations, I felt the tension in my chest, the relief that he was safe, the longing that had become impossible to ignore, and the gnawing fear that at any moment everything could unravel. The moral stakes were immense, the danger constant, and the emotional pull between us undeniable. And through it all, I realized that my life had irrevocably changed. I was no longer simply a student, an observer, or a friend. I was part of something larger, something dangerous, and something deeply binding, tied to Luigi by threads of fear, admiration, and desire that neither of us could fully name. The next night, the air hung thick with humidity, the city streets slick from a sudden summer downpour. Neon reflections shimmered in puddles, and the occasional rumble of distant thunder punctuated the otherwise tense silence. Luigi had received intelligence suggesting that a mid-level gang operation was about to escalate, and tonight would be crucial. The risk was higher than ever, and I knew from the coded message that I would once again be relegated to a shadowed corner, witnessing but unable to intervene. Heather's voice rang in my memory as I navigated the darkened alleys. "Marco, you can't keep disappearing like this. I don't even know who you are anymore." I shook my head silently. She would never understand, not yet. The truth was dangerous, lethal if exposed, and yet her words echoed in my mind, intertwining with my growing concern for Luigi. I had no choice but to suppress the fear and focus on the task: observation, comprehension, survival. Luigi approached the rendezvous point, a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of the docks. The gang's mid-level operatives had gathered, unaware that their newest recruit was a carefully placed spy. Every movement he made was deliberate, every word measured. I could see the subtle flickers of recognition in some of the members' eyes, the wary respect that he had cultivated. They trusted him, but trust in this world was fragile and dangerous. I crouched behind stacked crates, the wood splintering slightly beneath my weight. My chest tightened as I watched him navigate the tense interactions, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the barely concealed aggression around him. One wrong gesture, one hesitated word, and the situation could erupt into violence. Then it happened. A miscommunication triggered suspicion. One of the gang members leaned in, questioning Luigi's intentions, his tone dripping with challenge. I felt my stomach knot as Luigi froze, eyes scanning the room, calculating his next move. His expression remained composed, but I could see the mental gears turning rapidly. With a subtle shift of posture and a carefully placed remark, Luigi deflected the suspicion, redirecting the conversation and subtly asserting his authority. It was a masterclass in deception and diplomacy, each action precise, each word weighted with hidden meaning. I exhaled silently, relief mingling with awe. He was untouchable in his skill, yet the danger remained omnipresent. Hours passed in tense observation. Luigi maneuvered through exchanges, recorded covert details, and ensured the operation proceeded without incident. His eyes occasionally flicked toward my hiding spot, a silent acknowledgement of my presence. But there was no time for words. The stakes were too high, and the shadows offered no safety for conversation. Finally, as dawn began to creep along the horizon, Luigi signaled that the operation was complete. He moved toward me, his gait purposeful, expression guarded. "Marco," he whispered, "it's done." But this was only a small piece of the puzzle. There's more coming, and it will be even more dangerous. "I know," I replied softly, my voice betraying the mixture of relief, admiration, and something far more personal. "I'll be here, Luigi. I won't leave." His eyes softened briefly, a flicker of something unspoken passing between us. "You shouldn't have come tonight. If anyone had seen you." "I had too," I interrupted, the tension in my chest breaking through the restraint I had tried to maintain. I couldn't just stay away. Not when you're in this kind of danger. Bah. He studied me, unreadable for a long moment, and then simply nodded. I know, but promise me you'll be careful. You're important, Marco. More than you realize. The warehouse emptied, leaving only the soft echo of our footsteps and the distant hum of the city waking from its slumber. Luigi led me through a labyrinth of side streets, his knowledge of escape routes impeccable. I followed silently, my mind racing with a mixture of fear, admiration, and unspoken longing. We reached a secluded park, the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sound of water offering a rare moment of respite. Luigi finally stopped, turning to face me fully. Marco, there's something you need to understand, he began, his voice low and serious. What I'm doing, it's not just about survival. It's about dismantling a network that could ruin countless lives. I need you to trust me, even if it means I disappear from your life at times. I trust you, I replied without hesitation, though the truth was more complicated. My heart ached with the weight of unspoken words and forbidden emotions. But it's hard seeing you risk everything, knowing I can't protect you. He stepped closer, the faint scent of rain and the city clinging to him. That's why I need you to stay hidden. You are my anchor, Marco, even if you don't realize it. Your safety is the only thing I can't compromise. For a long moment, we simply stood there, the tension between us palpable, the danger, the secrecy, and the moral complexity of Luigi's mission had created a bond that transcended friendship. Yet words were insufficient to define it. I wanted to reach out, to close the distance, but the rules of this covert world forbade it. We were bound by circumstance and necessity, and the consequences of indulgence could be catastrophic. I swallowed hard, forcing my emotions into silence. I understand, I said finally. I'll stay hidden, but I'll always be here, Luigi, no matter what. He gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile, the kind that carried both pride and sorrow. That's all I ask, Marco. For now, that's all I ask. The following days brought a new intensity to the operation. Luigi became increasingly involved in higher-level dealings, gaining access to sensitive information and forming relationships with influential members of the gang. Each encounter required skillful deception, strategic patience, and unwavering composure. I observed from afar, my respect for him deepening with each calculated maneuver. Heather's attempts to reconnect continued, but I remained distant. Her frustration, jealousy, and concern were all understandable, yet I could not risk her involvement. The tension between us grew, a subtle undercurrent of conflict that mirrored the chaos in my own heart. I loved her, but Luigi had claimed a piece of me that could not be surrendered. Late one night, a message arrived from Luigi. High-level meeting. Tomorrow. Critical. Discretion essential. I read the words with a mix of dread and anticipation. This was a turning point, the first step toward the gang's inner circle, and the stakes could not be higher. I prepared myself mentally, knowing I would observe from a safe distance, unable to intervene, yet fully aware that my emotional investment had never been greater. As I settled into my hiding spot near the meeting location, I felt the familiar surge of fear and admiration. Luigi emerged from the shadows, every movement precise, every gesture calculated, embodying the perfect balance between loyalty, deception, and moral clarity. He was a force in motion, a man navigating a perilous world with intelligence, courage, and unspoken emotion. And in that moment, I realized the undeniable truth: I was irrevocably tied to him. The danger, the secrecy, the forbidden emotions, all of it had bound me to Luigi in a way that could not be undone. He was no longer simply a friend, a protector, or a partner in risk. He was the axis upon which my world had begun to turn, and the thought of losing him, even temporarily, was unbearable.